After killing Glaber to avenge his wife's death, Spartacus' fight is no longer driven by personal vendettas. Now, he leads a rebel army to free countless enslaved people from Rome's tyranny. With unstoppable momentum, his forces march toward Rome, striking fear into the hearts of Romans everywhere. From a small band of a few hundred, his army has swelled to tens of thousands, threatening the very foundations of the Roman Empire. Despite Rome sending 2 seasoned generals with vast armies to crush the rebellion, Spartacus and his slave army defeat them time and again. The generals, growing desperate as defeat looms, send the civil magistrate Metellus to Rome to enlist Crassus, a real historical figure and one of the wealthiest nobles in Rome. Alongside Pompey and Caesar, Crassus forms the triumvirate that dominates the Roman Republic. Yet, with the war raging, Crassus seems unbothered. He spends his days training with the gladiator Hilaris at home, instructing his son Tiberius to watch and learn. During one session, Hilaris accidentally cuts Crassus' arm, but Crassus laughs it off. When Metellus arrives, Crassus shows little respect. Metellus demands Crassus supply 10,000 elite soldiers to reinforce the front, funded entirely by Crassus himself. In exchange, Crassus will command the troops but remain subordinate to the 2 generals. Without hesitation, Crassus agrees and vows to personally inform the generals of the reinforcements. Metellus leaves satisfied, but Tiberius is puzzled by his father's compliance. Only Crassus knows his true motives. Meanwhile, Crixus alerts Spartacus to a Roman patrol passing through their territory. Seizing the opportunity, Spartacus ambushes and wipes out the unit. Among the spoils, Naevia discovers a secret letter revealing Rome's plan to send 10,000 elite troops. Back at camp, Spartacus and his allies strategize to avoid being caught in a pincer attack. They decide to launch a surprise attack on the Roman generals' camp that night. Under cover of darkness, Spartacus and his rebels infiltrate the camp, slaughter the guards, and swiftly behead the 2 generals. Word of their deaths reaches Crassus, who, it turns out, orchestrated the entire scheme. Unwilling to serve under the generals, Crassus deliberately leaked the reinforcement plan to Spartacus, using him to eliminate his rivals. With the generals dead, Crassus seizes full command of the Roman army, a cunning and formidable foe for Spartacus. Meanwhile, Spartacus is heartbroken by the plight of the escaped slaves, who, though free, starve in misery. Determined to provide for them, he plans to capture Sinuessa, a resource-rich coastal city perfect for wintering. Diotimos warns that the city's high walls and strict guards make it nearly impregnable, with no weapons allowed inside. Gannicus suggests bribing a blacksmith in the city to forge weapons, while Diotimos proposes using the name of a noble he once served to bypass security. Spartacus acts quickly. He and Crixus disguise themselves as merchants to infiltrate the city. At the gate, they nearly get caught but use the noble's name to pass. Inside, Spartacus witnesses a slave being brutally stoned to death as a warning to others. Lyda, the compassionate wife of the city's magistrate Ennius, fails to persuade her husband to spare the slave. Unable to watch the cruelty, Spartacus throws a stone to end the slave's suffering quickly, then slips away with Crixus to avoid attention. They meet the blacksmith Attius, paying him handsomely to forge weapons. That night, Spartacus and Gannicus stay in the city, while Crixus signals Agron to prepare the army. After retrieving the weapons, they're trapped by a curfew. They pressure Attius to help open the city gate. Though reluctant, Attius tricks patrolling guards into a trap, locking them in a warehouse. Spartacus and Gannicus cut down the remaining guards. And as the gate opens, the rebel army floods in, overwhelming the Roman defenders and freeing the city's slaves. Amid the chaos, Lyda encounters Spartacus and is terrified to learn his identity. Though Spartacus hates the bloodshed, he has no choice to ensure his army's survival. When the rebels prepare to execute captured nobles, Spartacus stops them, but Nemetus questions his mercy, arguing Romans would show none. Meanwhile, Crixus reports that Ennius has barricaded himself in the grain store, surrounded by pitch, ready to burn it and starve the rebels, putting Spartacus in a dire situation. Spartacus persuades Lyda to convince her husband, Ennius, to surrender in exchange for a promise that his rebels will stop killing Romans in the city. Lyda agrees. When she reaches the grain store to plead with Ennius, Crixus and Gannicus sneak in behind her, swiftly taking out the guards. Spartacus drives a spear through Ennius' throat, killing him instantly. Devastated and enraged, Lyta accuses Spartacus of betrayal. Having long lost faith in Roman promises, Spartacus still honors his word to Lyta, ordering his rebels to spare the surviving Romans. "This city is ours now." A 6-month pregnant woman hasn't eaten in days. Nemetes exploits this, dangling a loaf of bread in front of her husband, promising to give it to her if he reveals where their money is hidden. To save his wife, the husband complies. But when the bread falls to the ground, a starving Roman lunges for it, sparking a brawl. Passing by, Crixus doesn't intervene but declares they must fight to the death for the bread. Attius, a kind-hearted Roman noble, begs Gannicus to stop the fight. Gannicus hesitates but is held back by Naevia, who harbors deep hatred for Romans. Amid the crowd's cheers, the brutal duel begins. After a fierce struggle, the heavier Roman wins. But as he reaches for the bread, Naevia suddenly slashes off his hand. Outraged, Attius condemns her cruelty. Crixus, protective of Naevia, attacks Attius, but Gannicus steps in to stop the fight. Furious, Attius accuses the rebels of being as savage as the Romans they despise. At the grain store, Spartacus and Agron take stock and realize the food will only last 2 weeks, especially with the growing number of rebels. Nasir reports uninvited visitors at the gate. Spartacus allows them in, revealing a band of pirates led by Heraclio. They praise Spartacus' defiance of Rome and offer fine wine to forge an alliance, claiming Romans as their common enemy. Spartacus sees through their flattery, suspecting ulterior motives. Heraclio admits he had a secret deal with Ennius, a legal sea pass to plunder merchant ships in exchange for splitting the profits. Seeing an opportunity, Spartacus proposes using the pirates' ships to transport food by sea, bypassing Rome's land blockades. He orders a search for Ennius' seal to uphold the deal with Heraclio. Despite searching everywhere, the seal is nowhere to be found. Spartacus turns to Lyta, who is still grieving her husband's death and refuses to help his killer. But when Spartacus shows her the deal between Ennius and Heraclio, Lyta is stunned to learn of her husband's corrupt dealings. Spartacus offers a deal. If she finds the seal, he'll free all Romans in the city after the rebels leave and ensure no further harm comes to them. "Why should I trust you? Because you have no other choice." Meanwhile, after the two generals' deaths, Crassus assembles a 10,000-strong army to crush Spartacus. Despite the Senate's urgency, Crassus delays, meticulously checking war supplies. His son Tiberius, tasked with procuring weapons and equipment, is eager to prove himself, but the arrival of Caesar, enlisted by Crassus, infuriates Tiberius. Though from a once prominent family, Caesar is now drowning in debt. Crassus clears his debts in exchange for his help defeating Spartacus' slave army. One night, Tiberius finds Caesar in a bathhouse with a slave girl, blood on the floor. Mistaking it for indulgence, Tiberius doesn't realize this act will later be key to defeating Spartacus. Tiberius warns Caesar not to steal his role as deputy commander, but Caesar mocks him, ending their first meeting in a heated argument. When the campaign begins, Crassus names Tiberius his deputy, ordering Caesar to assist him and rally the remnants of the fallen general's forces, while Crassus follows with the main army. Though displeased, Caesar reluctantly agrees. Tiberius and Caesar's vanguard sets up camp 100 kilometers from Sinuessa. A survivor from the city reports Spartacus' takeover but is abruptly killed by Caesar before finishing. Furious at Caesar's impulsiveness, Tiberius orders him to report back to Crassus. Caesar, eager to avoid working with the brash Tiberius, complies. That night, Tiberius leads a small unit to scout Sinuessa's outskirts and spots Spartacus trading with Heraclio. Seeing a chance to kill Spartacus, he orders a sneak attack, ignoring Crassus' warnings about caution. Spartacus and Heraclio, arguing over the pirates' failure to deliver food as promised, are ambushed by Tiberius' men. The two join forces to fight back. Though the small Roman force initially gains ground, Heraclio signals his hidden pirates, who quickly overwhelm the Romans, forcing them to flee. Tiberius is stabbed in the gut but survives, escaping with his deputy's help, bitter and humiliated. Spartacus doesn't pursue, instead demanding Heraclio deliver the food to the port. The battle forges trust between them, cementing their alliance. After several successful deals, Heraclio demands a higher price for food, citing the ongoing war's impact on supply lines. Furious but cornered, Spartacus swallows his anger. Falling out with the pirates would starve his rebels and the refugees in the city. Reluctantly, he agrees to the inflated price. The situation worsens as a flood of escaped slaves and refugees gathers at the city gates, seeking to join the rebellion. Unable to turn away his own people, Spartacus faces a new threat when a dozen Roman soldiers, disguised among the crowd, attempt to assassinate him. He orders the gates shut and swiftly eliminates the attackers. Spotting a young blonde man fiercely killing a Roman assassin, Spartacus thanks him, unaware that this is Caesar, Crassus' undercover operative. Suspicious, Spartacus demands to see Caesar's slave mark. Anticipating this, Caesar had already branded himself, revealing his ruthless cunning. His deception earns Spartacus' trust. The assassination attempt convinces Spartacus that Crassus is unlike other Roman generals, sly and formidable. Suspecting more spies in the city, Spartacus prepares for the worst, naming Crixus his successor in case of disaster. Spartacus orders Gannicus and Crixus to train the new recruits while he seeks Lyda for intel on Crassus. Lyda warns that Crassus is cunning and ruthless, stopping at nothing to achieve his goals. His unrelenting ambition made him one of Rome's most powerful men. Realizing Crassus is no ordinary foe, Spartacus braces for a tough fight. During training, Gannicus spars with Caesar and notices his expert swordsmanship, unusual for a supposed slave. Caesar lies, claiming he was a shepherd with basic training, but Crixus grows wary and tasks Nasir with investigating Caesar's true identity. Nasir, having brutally tortured a Roman noblewoman, demands Caesar torment her to prove his loyalty. Refusal would mark him as Crassus' spy. Heartbroken by his compatriot's suffering, Caesar reveals his true identity to her, promising Rome will soon retake the city, but she begs for death to escape her torment. Swallowing tears, Caesar ends her pain, carrying her body out. He convinces Nasir of his loyalty by claiming she tried to attack him, and he saved Nasir's life. Seizing the moment, Caesar stokes the rebels' hatred for Romans, aiming to drive a wedge between Crixus and Spartacus. Meanwhile, Lyda sneaks bread to Romans hiding in a cellar. A young slave girl, rescued by Gannicus and his ardent admirer, spots her suspicious behavior and alerts him. At the stables, Gannicus confirms Lyda is sheltering Romans. He also learns Naevia falsely accused and killed his friend, the blacksmith Attius. Enraged, Gannicus confronts Naevia, who insists all Romans deserve death. Their argument escalates into a brutal fight when Crixus defends Naevia. Nasir tries to intervene but is knocked aside by Gannicus. A Roman nearly strangles Nasir with a chain, but Caesar's thrown dagger saves him. Naevia seizes the moment, knocking Gannicus unconscious with a rock. Caesar fans the flames. Do we risk our lives rebelling just to kill each other? Egged on by Caesar and Naevia, Crixus defies Spartacus' orders, leading a brutal massacre of Roman prisoners, men, women, young, and old. Sinuessa turns into a living hell. Alerted by Nasir, Spartacus rushes to the scene. As Crixus prepares to kill Lyda, Spartacus saves her, shouting, "Calm down." Crixus, unhinged, demands Spartacus kill Lyda or their friendship ends. Spartacus refuses, ordering the surviving Roman prisoners brought to the courtyard and warning that anyone who harms them will die. After this clash, Crixus and Naevia lead their followers to part ways with Spartacus. To crush the Roman soldiers' fear of Spartacus and boost morale, Crassus imposes decimation, executing 4,000 men. Earlier, Tiberius led an attack on Spartacus but failed when many soldiers, terrified of Spartacus, deserted. Wounded heavily, Tiberius was saved by his close friend. Back at camp, Crassus, furious at the deserters, orders decimation to teach them that fleeing is worse than dying by Spartacus' hand. Tiberius tries to plead for his friend, but Crassus forces him to join the punishment. In decimation, groups of 10 draw lots, 9 draw black stones, 1 draws white. The white stone's bearer is beaten to death by the others. Survivors are demoted to slaves, living among the lowest. Tiberius draws a black stone, but his friend draws white. Watching his friend suffer, Tiberius tearfully ends his life. Even as Crassus' son, Tiberius is demoted to a slave, shattering their father-son bond. Crassus asks his lover Cor to mend things with Tiberius, unaware this risks losing her. Cor, who treats Tiberius like a son, comforts him, hoping he'll recover. Shockingly, Tiberius responds with an unthinkable act against her. Cor frantically pushes Tiberius away, trying to flee, but he pulls her back. Despite his father, Tiberius unleashes his cruelty on the woman Crassus loves most. Meanwhile, Crixus plans to join Spartacus in breaking Rome's final defensive line before parting ways. but Spartacus is too focused on the massive Roman army outside to heed Crixus' rebellious thoughts. He assigns Agron to stay in the city and watch Crixus, while he and Gannicus borrow pirate ships for a covert sea mission. After paying the pirates a hefty sum, their captain leaves a crewman with Spartacus and stays in the city to indulge. Unbeknownst to Spartacus, Caesar, Crassus' spy, lurks in the shadows, observing their every move. After Spartacus sets sail, Caesar leaks to Crixus that Spartacus left with a small group. Furious at being kept in the dark, Crixus confronts Agron, demanding answers about Spartacus' mission. Loyal to Spartacus, Agron claims ignorance until his leader returns, leaving Crixus frustrated. Spartacus' sea mission stems from pirate intel. Crassus' food supplies are en route to Sicilia. With Gannicus and a dozen men, he plans to intercept the convoy. As promised, they find a Roman unit transporting grain. Spartacus' team ambushes them, swiftly wiping out the soldiers and seizing the supplies. Back at Sinuessa, Naevia spots a Roman force approaching. She urges Crixus to lead a charge against them. Agron blocks Crixus' reckless move, sparking a heated standoff. Spartacus returns just in time to defuse the tension. To Crixus' shock, Spartacus not only halts the attack but plans to release the Roman prisoners. Crixus rages, but Spartacus' authority forces him to comply. As Spartacus personally escorts the prisoners to the gate, Crixus, unable to restrain himself, leads a group to harass them. After the prisoners leave safely, Crixus' fury peaks. He follows Spartacus, berating him for risking disaster by freeing Romans. Spartacus reveals his plan. The released prisoners will carry false intel to Crassus, making him believe Spartacus and Crixus are at odds and that Spartacus is heading to Sicilia. In truth, it's a feint. Crassus' supplies are in Sicilia, and when he sends troops to protect them, Crixus will lead a rebel force through the mountains to ambush Crassus' camp, catching him off guard. Crixus doubts the plan. If we both leave, won't Sinuessa be defenseless? Crassus is too cunning to miss that. Spartacus has prepared for this. He orders hundreds of preserved prisoner corpses dressed as rebels and propped on the walls to fool the enemy into thinking the city is heavily guarded. Spartacus will lead another group to attack Crassus' forces from the rear, but success hinges on their unity. They set up the decoy corpses, leaving Agron and a small team to guard the city. Crixus quietly leads his group out the back gate. The commotion alerts Caesar, who drops his disguise. Seizing the moment, he kills two rebels. A bearded rebel realizes Caesar is a Roman spy and offers to lead him to Spartacus to save himself. Caesar sneers and kills him. At the docks, Spartacus and Gannicus await the pirates, but the ship arrives late. The captain, no longer friendly, draws his weapon, betraying Spartacus. Crassus has outbid Spartacus, buying the pirates' loyalty. Roman soldiers pour from the ship, and Caesar stabs Spartacus in the back. Gannicus punches Caesar, saving Spartacus. Stunned, Spartacus can't fathom how his plan unraveled. Earlier, the freed prisoners reported everything to Crassus, while Caesar's intel confirmed the rift between Spartacus and Crixus. An administrator urges Crassus to split his forces, attacking Sicilia and Sinuessa, but Crassus, knowing the pirates' greed, outbids Spartacus, disrupting his plan. Spartacus and Gannicus are surrounded at the docks. Caesar leads Romans into the city, aiming to open the gates. Agron leaps from the walls, leading a dozen rebels in a desperate fight. As Romans half open the gate, a rebel cuts the ropes, slamming it shut. Alone, Caesar douses the gate with oil and sets it ablaze. At the docks, Crixus arrives with rebels, turning the tide. They slaughter the Romans, and Spartacus personally kills the pirate captain. But Crassus' main force arrives on pirate ships. Unable to hold Sinuessa, Spartacus orders a retreat to the mountains. In the city, Agron overpowers Caesar. But as his life hangs by a thread, the gates are breached. Crassus floods the city with thousands of troops. Outnumbered, Agron's team flees through the back gate, reporting to Spartacus. Blaming himself for trusting the pirates, Spartacus rejects Crixus' call for a last stand, knowing a direct fight means certain death. To buy time for the rebels' escape, Spartacus offers to stay behind, but Gannicus insists on taking the role. Recognizing Spartacus' importance as the rebellion's leader, Spartacus bids Gannicus a brief farewell and retreats with Crixus. Gannicus and a rebel with an axe douse the grain store with oil to burn it and distract the Romans. Gannicus finds Sibyl, a girl who hasn't escaped. Reluctantly, he takes her along. When the store ignites, Crassus ignores Caesar's plea to save it, ordering a pursuit of Spartacus. Gannicus' plan fails, and he fights desperately, drawing Roman attention to give the rebels time to escape. In the fight, the axe-wielding rebel falls. Gannicus wipes out a Roman squad but, burdened with the defenseless Sibyl, seeks a hiding spot. At the back gate, Spartacus and the rebels are retreating. A massive Roman force attacks, forcing Spartacus and Crixus to charge the enemy to buy time. Seasoned gladiators, they tire against the endless waves of Romans. In a desperate move, Crixus smashes a kerosene jar onto the gate's ropes. Spartacus throws a torch, igniting them. As the ropes burn, Crixus escapes, leaving Spartacus to hold the line alone. Crassus and Caesar arrive, facing Spartacus for the first time. Crassus orders his men to capture him, but Spartacus slips away as the gate collapses. Crassus doesn't pursue, instead fortifying the city and hunting down remaining rebels. Gannicus and Sibyl hide but are spotted by a Roman. Using Sibyl as bait, Gannicus subdues the soldier, giving her a dagger with instructions to end her life if he doesn't return. Capture by Romans is worse than death. He charges into a Roman squad. Sibyl, hearing the clash on a ship, despairs as blood drips through the planks. When the fighting stops, she braces for death but is relieved to see Gannicus alive. From a rooftop, they see Romans patrolling the city. Lost for options, Gannicus spots the pirate captain escorting Lyta, a pass from Crassus visible on his chest. He devises an escape plan. The captain brands Lyta's arm with a pirate mark, transforming her from noblewoman to pirate. As he prepares to assault her, Gannicus and Sibyl burst in, killing the pirates. The captain, outmatched, holds Sibyl hostage, unaware of Lyta sneaking behind him. Gannicus disguises himself as the captain, leading Lyta and Sibyl out under cover of night. Spotting two horses, Gannicus plans to flee, but they run into Caesar. Sensing something off, Caesar stops them. Gannicus, about to be exposed, attacks. Lyta and Sibyl untie the horses. Caesar, no match for Gannicus, takes a sword to the gut. Gannicus topples a brazier to block pursuers, then gallops with Lyta and Sibyl toward the gate. He cuts down Roman guards, but the gate is blocked by dozens of soldiers. Like a war god, Gannicus charges through, slaying enemies. Lyta is wounded by a Roman spear, but Gannicus saves her, ensuring she escapes first. He tramples the last soldier, tosses aside Rome's eagle emblem, and rides off with Sibyl, smirking at Caesar. Spartacus leads the rebels to a snow-covered mountain, where harsh weather, scarce supplies, and towering cliffs trap them. Crassus has dug a deep trench and built a high wall to block their escape. His army, tens of thousands strong, camps nearby, awaiting his orders. Rebels attempting to climb the wall are speared by Roman guards. Seeing their bodies pile up, Crixus rages, demanding a final stand. Spartacus stops him. The Romans have food, weapons, and numbers. We're mostly slaves. A direct fight is suicide. Crassus builds a viewing platform, mocking the rebels as mere gladiators. Enraged, Crixus again demands battle, but Spartacus sees an opportunity in Crassus' arrogance. His forward camp makes him vulnerable to assassination. That night, Spartacus leads a small team into Crassus' camp, silently killing guards and entering his tent. It's a trap. Romans surround them. With no escape, they fight desperately. Though skilled, they're overwhelmed. Naevia is wounded in the leg. Spartacus saves her, calling for a retreat. Back at camp, Crixus fumes at Spartacus' miscalculation, insisting they should attack head-on, not cower in the cold. Spartacus urges restraint, but Crixus, stubborn, leads a group to fight the Romans to the death. When Spartacus tries to stop him, Crixus, unhinged, smashes a water jug over his head. Enraged, Spartacus brawls with him, cementing their split. Gannicus and Agron intervene. Agron brings worse news. The rebels huddle in the blizzard, sharing meager food. Some freeze to death, praying in vain. Sibyl cuts her hand, offering blood to the gods to end the deadly storm. In the warm Roman camp, Crassus revels in the blizzard, believing it will kill half the rebels without a fight. Caesar brings Cor to him. Surprised, Crassus asks why she's at the front. Cor hints at Tiberius' change, but Crassus vows to forgive his son. Cor realizes her enslavement makes love a distant dream. After a final night with Crassus, she takes a dagger and leaves. On the mountain, Sibyl faints from the cold, but Gannicus finds her in time. Gannicus carries Sibyl to a sheltered spot, safe from the biting wind. He's long been drawn to her pure, kind heart, and Sibyl has feelings for him. They know movement is their only defense against freezing. Their bond deepens. in the rebel camp, Spartacus warns Lyta, clinging to each other against the cold. The blizzard passes, leaving many rebels frozen like statues. Agron reports nearly 1,000 dead. Heartbroken, Spartacus sees a chance to turn the tide. He tells Crixus he's uncovered Crassus' ploy. The deep trench is impassable, but the high wall behind it is lightly guarded. They decide to break through there. That night, Spartacus' team sneaks to the wall, eliminating the guards. As predicted, only a few hundred Romans defend the interior. As more Romans rush in, Spartacus' group attacks first, fighting fiercely. Rebels from below climb the wall, joining the fray. After clearing the wall, Spartacus charges the enemy camp, slaughtering Romans. Rebels below dig a breach in the wall. United, they break through. Cor, having escaped the Roman camp, blends into the rebels to flee with them. When Crassus learns of the breach, he races to the scene. He's stunned to find over 1,000 rebel corpses piled into a small mountain, filling the 10-meter deep, 10-meter wide trench. Thinking the rebels have fled, Crassus is caught off guard when Spartacus ambushes from behind the wall. Unprepared, the Romans raise shields and retreat. Leaving the snowy Milia mountains, Romans pursue, but small rebel groups fend them off. Most rebels are elderly, weak, or sick, forcing Spartacus to halt and counterattack to protect them, slowing their march. Food shortages worsen. Crixus and Agron urge Spartacus to abandon the weak, who consume supplies and hinder the group. Spartacus refuses to let them be re-enslaved, ordering Gannicus to scout for a slave owner's estate to raid. That night, Gannicus reports a nearby estate brimming with cattle and goats, perfect for resupply. Spartacus announces a plan: attack the estate tonight, then cross the Alps tomorrow to the Le Mans-France border, where Romans won't dare pursue en masse. He'll disband the army, letting each person choose their path. Crixus and Agron object fiercely. Crixus demands they fight Rome to the end, arguing disbanding nullifies past sacrifices and leaves them hunted forever. Spartacus counters that Rome is stronger than they think. Past victories were mere scratches. Continuing means death. Crixus mocks Spartacus' cowardice, vowing to fight to his last breath and part ways at dawn. Unable to agree, Spartacus stops persuading, asking Crixus for one final favor. At dawn, the rebels storm the Valley estate in their last united battle. Like ferocious beasts, they slaughter the Romans, seize the estate, and feast heartily. Crixus hosts a farewell feast. Agron chooses to join Crixus, seeking a warrior's death on the battlefield. Spartacus respects his choice, bidding his brother farewell. Lyta and Spartacus, now in love, embrace their feelings. Crixus invites Gannicus to join the fight against Rome, but Gannicus backs Spartacus, drawn to a peaceful life with Sibyl. Crixus respects his decision, leading half the rebels. Crixus parts with Spartacus, both knowing it may be their final goodbye. Crixus' fearless army advances, defeating Roman forces and swelling to over 60,000 with new slaves. If they defeat General Ares' garrison, Rome could fall. Before battle, Crixus delivers a rousing speech, igniting the rebel spirit. Fireballs roll down, and Crixus leads the charge. The armies clash in a brutal world war. Despite fewer numbers, the rebels' morale outshines. Crixus fights like a war god. Naevia and Agron cut down Romans with seasoned skill. Crixus buys Spartacus time to escape, though he's puzzled by the lack of pursuit. Crixus' rebels win, with Rome in sight. As they celebrate, Crassus' 100,000-strong army ambushes from behind. Crassus has returned to defend Rome, trapping the rebels. Crixus leads a ferocious fight, but the rebels, halved and exhausted from the prior battle, face a superior Roman force. Soon, they're defeated. Agron falls to Tiberius' sneak attack, riddled with wounds. Crixus aims his spear at Crassus, but Caesar intervenes. Outmatched, Caesar is nearly killed, but Tiberius stabs Crixus from behind, piercing him through. Crixus falls, sealing the rebels' defeat. Crassus spares Crassus, forcing her to watch her lover die. In their final gaze, Naevia regrets inciting Crixus down this doomed path. Crassus entrusts his son Tiberius with executing Crixus. The undefeated champion of Capua falls under Rome's cruelest punishment, crucifixion, left to wither under the scorching sun. Crassus sends Spartacus a letter, proclaiming this the fate of defying Rome. Unaware of Crixus' death, Spartacus presses on. That night, Spartacus spots Roman soldiers roasting meat in the wild. He leads a surprise attack, cutting them down before they can react. While handling the bodies, he notices their armor bears an eagle and dolphin emblem, not Crassus' men. Lida identifies it as the insignia of Pompey's army, one of Rome's 3 mightiest legions, recently returned from foreign wars. The dead soldiers were likely messengers to Crassus. If Pompey joins Crassus, the rebels face certain doom. Before they can strategize, Nasir rushes in, reporting a rider approaching camp. The rider, Naevia, collapses from her horse, clutching Crixus' head. Released by Crassus, she recounts his heroic sacrifice. When she wakes, Spartacus and Gannicus are devastated, but Spartacus knows they must focus on Pompey's threat. Though they killed the messengers, Pompey will send more if unanswered. Spartacus devises a plan. He sends a rebel posing as Pompey's envoy to Crassus, claiming Pompey agrees to join forces against the rebels. As Rome's top leaders, neither trusts visiting the other's camp, so they agree to meet midway with 20 escorts each to plan their strategy. Crassus is unaware the envoy is Spartacus' planned. Caesar, seeing through the ruse, stays silent, plotting to eliminate Tiberius, his former commander. He urges Tiberius to meet Pompey in Crassus' place. Eager to prove himself, Tiberius convinces Crassus, falling into Caesar's trap. The next morning, Tiberius arrives at the meeting with 20 escorts, cautioning vigilance. Inside the tent, he faces Spartacus. Panicked, Tiberius flees to his horse, but Spartacus yanks his cloak, toppling him. His escorts are subdued by rebels. Seeing Crixus' sword in Tiberius' hand, Spartacus realizes he killed his brother and orders all captives taken to camp. The rebels, seeing Tiberius captured, crave his blood. Core, eyes burning with hatred, shares their fury. But Spartacus plans a Roman-style gladiatorial contest, using Roman blood to honor the fallen, especially Crixus. Meanwhile, Crassus, unaware of Tiberius' capture, ponders what to do with thousands of prisoners. Agron, barely alive, suffers brutal torture. When Pompey's true envoy arrives, Crassus realizes Spartacus' trick. To save Tiberius, he offers 1,000 prisoners and sends Caesar to negotiate. Caesar, a former spy among the rebels, knows many want him dead but can't defy Crassus. Before the games, Core visits Tiberius. He delusionally thinks she'll help him escape, promising to restore her to Crassus' side, but Core, scarred by his assault, only wants him dead. Cursing him, she leaves. The gladiatorial games begin, Spartacus vowing vengeance with Roman blood. On the arena, the crowd roars. Spartacus plants 2 daggers in the sand, grabbing a handful of dirt soaked with slave blood and tears. Today, it'll be stained with Roman blood. The first Roman prisoner, scorning the lowly slaves, discards his weapon, refusing to fight. Spartacus beheads him instantly. He challenges 2 Romans at once. A sword grazes his face, but he smirks, proving his legend. Bare-handed, he grabs one soldier's neck, slamming his head into a blade for a clean decapitation. The other, stunned, is pummeled senseless. Spartacus grabs his daggers, pins the soldier down, and stabs through both eyes, igniting the crowd. Gannicus takes the stage, demanding 3 opponents. Once the arena's war god, he slew 20 gladiators single-handedly. Now, he effortlessly beheads a prisoner, tossing the head to the stands, sending the crowd into a frenzy. Other rebels follow, slaughtering Romans. Tiberius is brought out for judgment. Spartacus gives Naevia, trained by Crixus into a fierce warrior, the chance for revenge. She overwhelms Tiberius, who retreats helplessly. Core relishes seeing her abuser face his end. As Naevia prepares the killing blow, Spartacus stops her. Crassus has sent Caesar to negotiate, offering 1,000 prisoners, including Agron, for Tiberius. Spartacus agrees, as the prisoners include loved ones of the rebels. He explains, silencing the crowd. Spartacus leaves the decision to trade Tiberius to Naevia, the one most hurt by him. Though reluctant, Naevia agrees to free Tiberius to spare others her pain of loss. Core, outraged, resolves to kill Tiberius her own way. The next morning, Spartacus brings Tiberius to the exchange. As Caesar prepares to take him, Core bursts from the crowd, stabbing Tiberius dead. She avenges herself, but Spartacus loses his bargaining chip. Core offers herself to Crassus to secure the 1,000 prisoners, being the woman he loves most. Crassus, receiving only his son's cold body, is shattered. Caesar, escorting Core, conceals Tiberius' true cause of death. Crassus blames Spartacus, vowing a fierce attack to avenge his son. At the rebel camp, joy erupts as comrades, including Agron, return safely. At Crixus' memorial, Spartacus declares he'll fight Rome to the end. But his 50,000 rebels are no match for Crassus and Caesar's 200,000. They begin raiding Roman slave estates everywhere. News reaches Crassus. Caesar rages at the rebels' sixth brutal massacre, but Crassus sees Spartacus' plan: lure Pompey to chase them, giving the rebels a chance to cross the Alps. Though Pompey isn't an immediate threat, Crassus remains a predator. The rebels, mostly women, elderly, and weak, can't face Crassus' 100,000. Crossing the Alps is a death sentence for fighters. Agron wants to fight alongside Spartacus but, crippled by torture, can't wield a sword. Spartacus tasks him with leading the non-combatants across the Alps. Gannicus, knowing the battle's stakes, bids a reluctant farewell to Sibyl. Nasir rigs a harness to secure Agron's shield and sword, enabling him to fight. Lyta begs Spartacus to join her, but he stands firm. Captivated by his resolve, she vows to wait at the Alps base. Agron pleads to fight, the last brother from their arena days, sworn to follow Spartacus to death. After arrangements, Spartacus says, "My friends, live free." Crassus' 100,000-strong army, with catapults and giant bows, surges to the battlefield. To cover the slaves' escape, Spartacus leads 10,000 warriors against Crassus. Before the clash, Crassus invites Spartacus for a final talk. Alone, they speak from the heart. Spartacus believes, "My life is mine to command, not the gods. Though his followers may die, it's better than losing dignity under a slaver's whip." The talk yields nothing. They agree to fight at dawn. For freedom, the rebels prepare to die. As their war cries thunder, Crassus orders catapults to fire. Spartacus charges. Crassus signals 30,000 elite troops to advance. At 50 meters, Spartacus halts, revealing traps ahead. His archers fire, baiting the Romans into a defensive formation. Falling for the ruse, Spartacus charges through the traps, slaughtering enemies. Despite fewer numbers, the rebels fight fiercely, 1 against 10. Seeing the rebels gain ground, Crassus sacrifices his 30,000 troops, unleashing catapults and arrows, devastating the rebels. They fight forward to escape. Ahead lie Crassus' 70,000 elites. As Crassus senses victory, Gannicus ambushes with 1,000 cavalry, catching the Romans off guard. Gannicus redirects their crossbows at Crassus' army. Unfazed, Crassus sends Caesar with 10,000 to counter Gannicus, leading 60,000 against Spartacus. Spartacus and Crassus meet on the battlefield. Spartacus leaps over bodies, knocking Crassus off his horse, aiming to kill. Guards whisk Crassus away. Only beheading the general amid thousands offers the rebels hope. Gannicus' group fights desperately. Caesar kills Naevia, freeing her to join Crixus in death. Gannicus, alone and exhausted, is cornered. Crassus escapes to a hill. Spartacus, bloodied but resolute, charges like a war god. Crassus, a veteran, has never seen such ferocity. Each of Spartacus' strikes carries the pain of loved ones killed by Romans. But as he aims a fatal blow, a spear pierces his shoulder, then another, and a third. He collapses. Agron and Nasir arrive, knocking Crassus down the slope. Agron moves to finish him, but Roman pursuers close in. Nasir pulls Agron back, and they flee with Spartacus. Looking back, Spartacus sees the battlefield overrun by Romans. Crassus orders all prisoners, including Gannicus and Cor, punished for killing Tiberius, crucified. Facing death, Gannicus reflects on his aimless past until Spartacus gave him purpose and honor. Spartacus wakes at the Alps base, where Lyta, true to her word, awaits, a free man. His death marks the end of history's most renowned slave rebellion. Spartacus leaves no regrets, having fulfilled his mission. To millions of slaves, he's a symbol of freedom. Better to die free than live dishonored under Rome's lash. Here is the complete summary of Spartacus Season 3. What do you think of the show? How would you rate it out of 10? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for your interest and support. Goodbye and see you again.